All right. Hello, everyone. I am here with Dr. Negleatha Johnson. So, Dr. Johnson, why don't you just give us a brief introduction about who you are?
First of all, Grace, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. This is just a wonderful way to spend the day, the morning. I am Negleatha Johnson. I am a native of Kinston, North Carolina. It's on the eastern coast, about an hour and a half east of Raleigh. Most people haven't heard of it, but it is an amazing place. The youngest of four girls. I live now in Northern Virginia with my husband and my daughter and her husband and two wonderful kids live now, well, pretty much down the street from us. I'm also the co-founder of Life Waters Ministries International. We can talk a little bit more about that later, but in a nutshell, we just go about the nation and the world doing all that we can to spread hope, healing, and restoration in various ways, of which I'll go into more detail a little later. I'm also a songwriter and recording artist. I've released several CDs. Still doing that, and just released a single about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Congrats. I'd love to get the link to that single or tell me
Absolutely.
where we can find it later. So, I do want to talk about something significant happened in your life. Your sister passed from sarcoma. So, let's start with very first off, what is sarcoma for those of us who do not know?
Sarcoma cancer is one of those things, actually, you don't really want to know a lot about from personal experience, because you probably won't know about it unless either you've been diagnosed or someone that you love has been diagnosed. So I'm extra happy to actually be here to be able to educate and to bring awareness to your audience. But sarcoma cancer is rare. It is aggressive. There are two basic types of or categories of sarcoma cancer. One is bone, one is soft tissue. And within those two categories are more than 50 subtypes. In 2015, when my sister was diagnosed, my sister Diane was diagnosed, there were about 52 subtypes. There are closer to 70 now, and maybe even more subtypes. So when you're dealing with something that's rare and you have that many subtypes, that can be a big issue. Sarcoma cancer makes up about 1% of all the cancers among adults in the United States. So it's considered many times the forgotten cancer, because many of us just didn't know anything about it. I definitely wouldn't know what I know now had it not been for my sister Diane being diagnosed.
So now, Dr. Johnson, I want to walk back before her diagnosis. Tell us about your childhood. Tell us about growing up with Diane. Tell us about your relationship with your sister.
My relationship with my sister is something that will forever bring a smile to my face, as you see. Being the youngest of four girls, I had the advantage of learning from all of the mistakes they made. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. My sister Diane was one of those people who, how does it go? She would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. So she was a go-getter. She would, if we were supposed to been going to the grocery store, we would end up all around town. And so I would be the one telling her, Diane, we need to get back home. We're gonna get in trouble. And she's like, no, we'll be okay. But she was a person of tremendous adventure. I learned a lot about just living a life of fullness and adventure from her. She was very stylish in her clothing, something I'm still trying to learn, even though she's passed now. Even when, but I know you asked about our childhood, but this just came to my mind because this speaks to how she was in our childhood. A very polished dresser. I will never forget when, after she was diagnosed with sarcoma cancer, and she had uterine leiomyosarcoma cancer. And I definitely want to talk more about that if we can. But we were taking her to radiation. She was living outside of Atlanta at the time when she was diagnosed. And I never will forget, she asked me if I would press her outfit if I would iron her outfit to go to radiation. I'm like, Diane, first of all, nobody is ironing clothes, at these times. But she wanted, to present well, even as she went to radiation. And that's the kind of person that she was. We had some really good times growing up, and she is someone that I miss tremendously every single day.
Yeah, she sounds like an amazing woman, and having a sister in general is an invaluable education as a person.
Absolutely.
So I want to know, when she did get diagnosed, what was the reaction? Had you guys heard of this cancer before? How did she feel? How did you and your family feel about it?
Diane was diagnosed in January of 2015. Prior to that, she had a lot of fibroids. She was going to actually have a partial hysterectomy. Her doctor, her GYN in 2014, suggested that she have a partial hysterectomy because of the fibroids and because of the bloating that she was having and the cramping and the spotting, which she should not have been having. And so she was diagnosed in 2015 with uterine leiomyosarcoma cancer. And it was determined after she had the full hysterectomy. They thought she had, uterine cancer, which we are more familiar with. But after doing the hysterectomy, they determined that it was, in fact, uterine leiomyosarcoma cancer. When we heard that, we had no idea what that meant. Um, I remember still today, and that was 2015. That was 7 years ago. I remember today doing some research on and seeing those two words, rare and aggressive. And I still feel my heart just sinking because I knew that we were in trouble. We had absolutely no idea what that meant. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to support her. She was not married. She was divorced twice. She had no kids. So we were her support system, her sisters. So, we developed a plan of how we were going to support in my two other sisters. We caught the train. We went down to Atlanta and did all we could to support her at that time. And we thought we were going to be there for about a week. I was there for 30 days, which was very difficult. Which was very difficult, leaving my family, but it was what needed to happen. I was not going to leave her there by herself. And so that was the initial part of her journey with this very rare, very aggressive disease called sarcoma cancer, for her specifically, uterine leiomyosarcoma. Let me just say too, I cannot say enough, Grace, about as women, for us to understand clearly that what we're dealing with is in fact a fibroid, because the fibroid and that uterine leiomyosarcoma, they kind of mimic each other. And so what we thought was a fibroid was in fact uterine leiomyosarcoma cancer. Two totally different kinds of stories. And for her, a very tragic ending.
Yeah, absolutely. So, rare and aggressive cancers, obviously they're devastating, but I want to harken back to what you said about her personality, her growing up. She was a go getter. She sounds very spunky. So, what was it like watching her go through this process? What was her attitude? You said that she was still getting her clothes pressed for radiation. What else did you witness her going through during this journey?
I saw her having a dogged desire to live each day to its fullest. She had us doing fashion shows when she wasn't feeling well. We were doing talent shows. We were recording music. I still have a recording of Diane and one of my other sisters and myself. We were singing her favorite song at that time, which is called "Sometimes It Takes a Mountain." She was her faith walk grew by leaps and bounds. She was reading her Bible a little bit more and had started to do that anyway prior to. We were all raised, we were in church every Sunday. But prior to her diagnosis, she kind of returned to that upbringing. And so, even more so after her diagnosis, she was fighting. She was not planning to give up. She never did give up. From beginning to the end, she was fighting. So I was determined to fight with her. And her, other family members and, my sisters and her best friend, Tacolia Reeves, we were all trying to make it and making it to Atlanta to go with her to appointments so that she would know that she was not in this thing by herself. It was important for us to know that we had done and were doing everything that we could, so that she would not be traveling solo. She never stopped fighting. She never ever got to the point where she said, you know what, I've had enough. She
Yeah,
never got to that point.
I
Yeah,
do not doubt that she was an incredibly strong woman. It takes an incredibly strong person to even go through that journey regardless of the outcome.
absolutely.
So, when she did officially succumb, when was that, if you remember the year? And then where were you guys going to go from there? What was that moment like? Were you able to even look forward?
When Diane was diagnosed in January of 2015, um, we decided as Life Waters Ministries, the nonprofit, which my husband and I are founders of, this is our 26th year of that organization. We decided in 2015 that we would do um, a sarcoma benefit dinner and concert for fundraising and awareness. And so we jumped in, we put it together in 6 or 7 months. Diane actually was able to attend, which, a highlight that I will never forget. We had wonderful music. It was a wonderful location, a great meal. We met our goal in terms of planting that seed in people's minds that this thing is real, even though you don't know about it and you may not know of anyone who's been diagnosed. Sarcoma cancer is real. So we started in 2015 with this fundraiser, this sarcoma cancer benefit uh, dinner and concert. The following year, the following August of 2016, Diane had already passed. She passed May 29th, 8:06 of 2016. We were all there at her home, all around her. We were all around her bed. And when she took that last breath, she knew that we were right there with her, right to the end. Very difficult. Very difficult, very difficult. And so from the moment that she was diagnosed, Grace, we began to realize as Life Waters Ministries that this thing was going to impact the direction of this nonprofit. We just didn't know to what extent. And rightfully so, rightfully so. This is what Diane would have wanted for us to have used her experience in Life Waters Ministries in a way that would benefit others. We don't want anyone, I don't want anybody to have to go through what Diane went through. I'm thankful that she had us, but there were things that she experienced that we could only watch. So it changed her experience with sarcoma cancer changed the trajectory of this nonprofit in an amazing way. And so as a result, one of the key pieces of Life Waters Ministries now is a signature program that we developed called Sarcoma Reach, REACH. The R is for research, then education, access, cure, and hope. So that's where we are now. Had no idea, obviously 26 years ago, that this is where that we would be. But we're very thankful to have this opportunity to be one of the vessels that's getting the word out about sarcoma cancer. Sarcoma
Absolutely.
Cancer Awareness Month, let me put that into Sarcoma Cancer Awareness Month, is July. So we want to use July and actually every month to get the word out about this rare and aggressive disease.
Absolutely. So you said your sister was able to go to that very first gala, the very first benefit dinner, and we do actually have a video of you singing at that very first gala that Diane was able to attend, so I will play that right now.
Diane, we love you. We just love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Believe that you can go home. Believe you can float on air. Then click your heels 3 times. If you believe, then you'll be there. Believe in yourself right from the start. Believe in the magic that's inside your heart. Believe all these things, not because I told you to. But believe in yourself as I believe in you.
So, she was able to attend that very first gala, and you've had one every year since then, correct?
For the most part, we missed some COVID years, we call it. And let's see, we had one the year that she was diagnosed, the year afterwards, the year after that, and we missed the COVID years, as I said, just
Okay.
obviously from a safety perspective. We did have one though as recent as 2021, and which
Okay.
is also some of the pictures that we shared with you.
Yes, wonderful. So it's back in action. You have one coming up this year as well.
Absolutely.
So I want to know, she was able to see that first one, but she's having since passed. You've had one almost every single year. So how much more important does it make it knowing that she's gone, but her spirit lives on in this benefit?
This is critical. This is something that we don't like have to do, but we get to do this. So we feel like some people say, "Oh, I just have to do this thing." We it is a privilege for us. We get to do this work that we know that Diane would have wanted us to do. We get to do it. So in a sense, I guess we feel like we do have to because it's so much a part of who we are. We don't see stopping this work with sarcoma cancer anytime in the near future. Um, we are not far enough along in terms of research, in terms of education, in terms of awareness and cure and hope. So they'll always, every year, I'm hoping that someone will invite me to come and to share, to talk about this disease. Um, it's something that we'll be doing for many, many years to come.
Great. I hope so. So can you give us any insight into what we might expect at this year's dinner?
Absolutely. Let me just roll the tape back a little bit for just 2021. We had a wonderful time. It was an in-person gala. We were definitely, as we still are, in the midst of this pandemic. We had amazing COVID protocols. We had physicians there to help us to carry out that protocol so that our guests would feel safe. We also had as our featured guest Victor Solomon, who was a top 5 finalist in NBC's The Voice from season 20. He was absolutely amazing. The food was great. We were at the Marriott Falls Church in Falls Church, Virginia, and we'll be back there again this year on December 18th. We're very excited about it. We would love for everyone to come. It is an amazing time of food and fellowship, amazing music, and we talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of Life Waters Ministries as a nonprofit. Let me also say, Grace, this year, one of the pieces of Sarcoma Reach, our signature program, is that Cure and Hope part. So the way we manifest that whole part is we've developed our cohort program as a part of that sarcoma reach. So we have two women who currently are dealing with uterine leiomyosarcoma cancer. One lives in Florida, one lives in Texas. We are looking forward to having them be with us this year at our gala. And we are so excited about the opportunity, the privilege to treat them as the amazing women, the heroines that they are. We're excited.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait to see, that come to fruition, everyone come together to support anyone who may be going through this journey in any capacity. Um,
Absolutely.
I do want to know, will you be singing again at this year's gala?
Absolutely. 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 I will every year sing a song or two or three or four, along with whoever the featured artist is. It's what I love. It is what Diane would have wanted me to do. She would actually get upset with me if we were at places and she thought there was an opportunity for me to sing and I didn't. She would go into big sister mode. So I definitely look forward to that. It's gonna be good. We'll have some wonderful music again, and we hope that everybody will come out and support.
That's amazing. I'm sure they will. So I just have a couple more questions.
Sure.
So I want to know, your nonprofit and this dinner have grown exponentially since Diane's passing. So has her passing changed the way you live and view life now? And then what would be a piece of advice to someone who is either diagnosed with sarcoma or whose loved one has been diagnosed?
Grace, it has absolutely the passing, Diane's life and her passing have I feel like I'm a whole new person. Actually, it has changed my life in a million ways. I have always been a person of great compassion. If you need something, I'm gonna try my best to help you to work it out. That has probably gone to, I don't know, a stellar level at this point. Um, One of the biggest things that it's done for me is understand the importance of not wasting not a single second. I have some amazing things that I'm working on this year. I'm doing my first music video for a song that I just released. That video will be at the end of July. And I go for it with Diane in mind because she would actually, if she could be here, she would for that video. And she would say, Negleatha, what are you waiting for? Just go for it. Thirdly, the other way that my life has been impacted is that my music is, I sing now with an even greater level of passion, um, and credibility, boldness, and confidence. Diane was bold. She was confident. And I try to embody that in the songs that I wrote. There was a song that I wrote maybe about 5 or 6 months after she passed called Stay in the Moment that I have not released yet. And then there was another song that I wrote with her in mind called Come Back to Me. So the music is different. I feel like even my sound is different, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to allow life in her life to make me better in every way. With your second question, what would I tell someone who's been diagnosed or someone who has a loved one who has been diagnosed? I will say, as a person of faith, I had to do a tremendous amount of praying. Again, we were all raised in that kind of environment, but I had to pray for Diane, for myself, for all of the people that were a part of her village. I would also say that if you have been diagnosed or if you know someone that's been diagnosed, sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is just to be there for them, not to pretend that you understand their journey, because you do not understand it unless you've been diagnosed. But there are things that you can do by way of being present, by way of using the skills and the giftings that you have to serve that person. I still remember when Diane was diagnosed, when her doctor gave her that, that horrific news. And we were there in the examination room, and she just cried, probably for at least 30, 45 minutes. And I just sang. I just put my arm around her. I sang every song that I thought we needed to hear at that time. And so being able to use the gifts and the talents that we have to serve that person, I think is what we should do. Thirdly, if you know of someone that's been diagnosed, or you've been diagnosed yourself, get a second opinion, because it is so rare. There are doctors who, this is not their expertise to be able to see into the face of sarcoma. So they don't really necessarily, all doctors don't know what sarcoma cancer looks like. That's just the truth. So get a second opinion and work with a sarcoma specialist. Diane had the wonderful opportunity of working with an amazing sarcoma specialist, Dr. Gina Diamato, we are still in contact. And I'm an amazing woman who's very dedicated to the work she's been called to do. She was Diane's sarcoma specialist. And to my surprise, she's also the sarcoma specialist for one of the women in our Sarcoma Reach cohort, who lives in Florida. So get that second opinion, get a village around you. Don't try to do this thing by yourself, and do not lose hope.
Absolutely. All incredibly important pieces of advice. And,
Absolutely.
as terribly devastating as this is and as it can be, it sounds like you have turned it around and you're living your life in a way that Diane would be proud of today. Um,
Absolutely.
so I want to ask now, for those who want to learn more about sarcoma, for those who want to get involved with Sarcoma Reach, or who want to attend this gala coming up in December, where can they go to do that?
Thank you so much, Grace. They can go to our website, which is www.lwministriesonline.org. A pretty long name for a website, so I'll say it again: www.lwministriesonline.org. Exactly. They can learn more about our work with Sarcoma Reach, about the gala that'll be coming up. And those tickets will probably go on sale about August or September. So it would be something you would not want to miss. And Grace, I'm hoping to look up and see you there.
Wonderful. I am looking forward to it. Are there any last details that you would like to leave us with before we wrap up today?
I would simply say, don't shy away from those things that you don't know about, those things that have not been your experience, because sarcoma cancer is rare and aggressive, and because a lot of people haven't heard about it, they're not really necessarily wanting to hear about it. So I would encourage people, just because that has not been your experience personally, or you have not walked with someone who has been diagnosed, understand what this means. We never know what chapter life is going to have us on. I would have never thought that I needed to know anything about sarcoma cancer, but I did, and I'm glad that I do. I think, secondly, I can't say enough, especially to women: do not underestimate fibroids. Do not underestimate and just assume that every fibroid is really just a fibroid. Um, so I think that's the page that I would end.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, spreading awareness, making us all, a little bit wiser. Um, just a reminder, July is Sarcoma Awareness Month, and the benefit gala is happening this December. So I will put all the information that you need for both of those online. So thank you again, Dr. Johnson, for
You're
being
welcome.
here.
Thank you.
And everyone else, until we see you next time, be the good news in someone's life.
All right. Thanks so much.